2020 has been a hectic time, and in this year we've gone into lockdown, and I suppose for many it feels like it's been forever since we've been outside. During lockdown, I've mostly been curious about how others have been reacting and coping to the current situation. Through my observations, three things that stood out to me most was that people were becoming more desperate to communicate to one another. People were panic buying, and that people were craving for more organic means of interaction. Due to this need to feel connected, people have turned to online communication in order to stay in touch with their communities, family, and friends. This has led to the emergence of what has been dubbed as the Zoom fatigue, a phenomenon that occurs when people feel drained of energy after video conferencing. The article on screen lists a couple reasons as to why one may suffer from Zoom fatigue. In summary, it mostly has to do with the fact that online communication feels unnatural. It takes more effort for people to pick up on nonverbal cues than it does in person. This is exhibited in other means of communication, in nonverbal communications, such as online chat forums, where people use written signals such as /S to indicate sarcasm. To address this, my thoughts were drawn to handwritten letters. Handwritten letters are a traditional means of communication that have somewhat been forgotten in the modern age, but is a very personal and special way of connecting with others with a little bit of an added human touch, with each letter being unique to its own. My proposal is to create a series of stamps inspired by panic buyers and what they buy, to act as a sort of record that people could, that on items that people have suddenly clung onto since the outbreak was announced. Postage stamps have always been a way for us to record our history. Important events such as D-Day and impactful franchises like Star Wars and Mr. Men series have all been made into stamps by the Royal Mail. The idea behind this design is meant to reflect how we previously discarded items such as toilet rolls, loaves of bread, and suddenly they've received an increase in value. Postage stamps are like a form of currency, and so by attaching these items to them, metaphorically, there is an increase in value. The samples shown here are of first-class stamps, which are priced based on the weight of each letter. Ideally, the stamps would be printed on wove paper, which would give it a smooth, uniformed texture, and the items in the foreground, such as the shopping cart or the soap bottle, would be embossed, so that it may stand out and provide a slight variation. The size of the stamp should be 24 millimeters tall and 21 millimeters wide. My goal is to get people excited about handwriting letters, especially with young people. This resolve was further strengthened when I discussed this topic with people between the ages of 18 and 21. People who have previously written and received letters before described a positive experience, saying they felt happy and cared for because each letter had a lot of effort put into it. Amongst these responses were people who had never received or exchanged letters before. They expressed an interest in handwritten letters and highlighted that the only thing stopping them from writing letters was that they did not have someone to write to. This is proof that there is an interest in young people to write letters. Besides, trends like Throwback Thursday and #nostalgia show that young people do find an interest in things from the past and are willing to experiment. Aside from subjective opinions, there is also a practical incentive to written letters. Many articles have been published that discuss the benefits of handwriting letters, especially in terms of learning and concentration. This is supported by research papers, such as this research paper from 2010, that makes use of brain scanning technology to analyze the boons of handwriting versus typing in children. Results of this study suggest that handwriting is beneficial towards a child's processing of alphabetical letters. With this in mind, I realized that there may be a need for a campaign to get people even more excited about letter writing and to let people know that there are people out there who would love to exchange letters with them. So to further expand upon the stamp collection, a set of pens could be created using the pre-existing stamp designs and some of the unused illustrations from this project. Here are a couple samples of what these pens could look like. Themed pens belong to a pre-existing market. Prominent examples include Pilot and Uniball, that create pens that are themed after popular films and varying themes. Furthermore, I conducted a survey briefly with 47 participants where I asked participants whether they were regular pen buyers and whether or not the visual appearance of the pen had any effect on their purchasing decision. 50% of the participants were not regular pen buyers, but agreed that visual appearances did affect their decisions to buy a pen. When later asked whether they would purchase a visually appealing pen for others, 90% said yes. This could be a way to let people know about the stamp series, but also a way to potentially motivate them to write letters. And with that, we've reached the end of this presentation. I thank you for your time. Best wishes, Cherie.